Hello, I'm Michael Rogan, and I'll be discussing genocide in children's literature. The title of my TED Talk is Reading Helps History from Repeating Itself. I'll start with my blurb. In my talk, I want to look at and discuss causes of genocide and give solutions to the problems using the books I selected. I want to specifically discuss how fear and ignorance promotes genocide, as well as discuss how dangerous it can be to not stand up for those being oppressed. I would like to offer ways to combat these issues and provide ideas on how to stop genocide in the future. I would also like to mention themes within genocide, such as communities coming together to protect others even though they are different. My TED Talk will focus on genocide and its portrayal in children's literature. Genocide is the intentional killing of a specific ethnic group in large numbers. Genocide is a topic that everyone should be concerned about. It devastates communities and destroys families. Sadly, genocides have occurred throughout history. One of the most famous genocides is the Holocaust. The Holocaust was the mass murder of Jews and other ethnic groups that occurred in Europe during the Second World War. Many of my books focus on the Holocaust and are set in this time period. The books I'll be discussing today are Terrible Things by Eve Bunting, The Whispering Town by Jennifer Elvgren, The Butterfly by Patricia Polacco, Feathers and Fools by Mem Fox, and Hidden by Loic Dolvier and Greg Salcedo. These books are all filled with emotion and have themes that we can continue to learn from. I'll be dividing my talk based on specific themes from these books. The themes I would discuss are fear and ignorance, dangers of not standing up for those being oppressed, and tragedy and hope. I believe that a deep evaluation of these themes will show readers how we can prevent genocide and intolerance in the future. The first theme from the books I will be discussing is fear and ignorance. Fear and ignorance are the root causes of genocide and intolerance. When people do not understand one another, it promotes the formation of dangerous stereotypes and segregation. During World War II, Hitler blamed the Jews for Germany's economic problems and many other issues plaguing the country. This created hatred against Jews and allowed Hitler to begin his massacre. Looking at the situation from an outside perspective, it is obvious that Jews could not have caused these problems for Germany. They were just scapegoats for Hitler and his regime. The book Feathers and Fools by Mem Fox paints a picture similar to that of Nazi Germany. One day a peacock becomes suspicious of the neighboring swans and begins to spread fear amongst the other peacocks. The peacocks believed the swans were stronger than them and could hurt them if they chose to. The swans noticed a growing animosity against them, and tension between the two groups grow. Eventually the tension reaches a tipping point and the peacocks and swans fight to the death. After the war, all the birds are dead and all that is left is two eggs, one swan and one peacock. The eggs hatch and the two birds come face to face. They then become friends and begin to live with one another. This book shows how ignorance and fear can destroy a community. It also shows that when two groups try to learn about and understand each other, they form healthy friendships and bonds. This brings up an important question. How can we expect to learn from different groups if we are too afraid to ask? It is important to try to understand the cultures of others to eradicate dangerous stereotypes and silly fears. The next theme I will be discussing is the danger of not sticking up for those being oppressed. There is a famous poem by Martin Niemöller called First They Came, which I will display right now. The quote shows how nobody stood up for the Jews in Europe. After a while, Hitler began to focus on other groups and nobody said anything. Soon more and more people were afraid to stand up against the Nazis and were picked off one by one. These books all highlight the importance of sticking together and standing up for minorities. The book Terrible Things by Eve Bunting shows the importance of standing up for minorities. The book is about a community of animals that live in a clearing in the forest. Terrible things come and start to take away the animals from the forest. The main character is a baby rabbit who shows concern over the disappearing animals. The rabbit is told to be quiet and just be happy that terrible things are not bothering him. Soon all the animals in the clearing are gone and the terrible things begin to go after the rabbit. The baby rabbit is forced to leave his home and find animals who will listen to him. This is a very important lesson. If you do not stand up to injustice, you are allowing it to continue. How can you expect a group to stand up for you if you are unwilling to stand for others? The answer is you can't. Ignoring the problem only makes it worse. The final theme that can be found in the readings is tragedy and hope. These books all show the hope and resilience these characters have as they face insurmountable odds. When reading these books, I think it is important to consider whether or not you could handle loss and pain the way these characters have. These 3 books, Hidden, The Whispering Town, and The Butterfly, all depict people being hidden from Nazis. The characters all have faced huge loss and are at their lowest. You can see the pain in the character's face from Butterfly as she's holding the people who were protecting her as she's running away. In Hidden and The Butterfly, the main characters, both 2 young girls, have lost their families and all their possessions. Despite these losses, they remain hopeful for a brighter future and ultimately beat the odds and survive the war. The book The Whispering Town shows a mother and son hiding from Nazis and how their town rallied to save them. All these stories show that there is hope no matter how bad the situation, and to never give up. It is important to note the loss in the genocide and war, however. All these characters lost their families and have long roads ahead of them. These books show people rallying together to overcome big odds, which is an important lesson for kids to learn. Is it possible the worst events bring out the best in people? Overall, I think everyone should familiarize themselves with other cultures and better try to understand them. I think doing this will make the world a somewhat better place. Obviously, getting a better understanding of people won't fix all the world's problems, but I think it's a good place to start. There will be less irrational fear and animosity between groups. I think racism and other forms of prejudice are slowly dying out, but it would be great to speed up the process. When looking at the book selection, you will see clearly that mankind is capable of terrible things, but these actions are often bred out of ignorance and misunderstanding. The books also showcase some of the best elements of mankind, like compassion and empathy. People are not inherently bad or evil, but they are capable of becoming so. That's why it's important to stick up for those being oppressed and see the problem with being ignorant and not looking at situations from all the perspectives. Thank you.